Hello, hello. It is Tuesday, December 5th, 7:01 p.m. on the East Coast, the only coast that matters.
Ethan, you're kind of white on white too.
Say what? This is gray.
Well, no, more I meant like your skin color and your hair.
Like ethnically speaking?
Yeah. You're not the only one.
I don't buy it. No, it's not the same. Can somebody mute Uma, please? Valerie is in the house. Hi, Valerie. Matt Bannister's in the house with all his exclamation marks, all the way from the UK. Matt, I swear I'm going to have you on a community conversation because you bring the best energy. Erica McCoy is here. Yep. If you're just joining us, say hello. Let us know where you're from, and we'll get started in just about 27 and a half seconds. Love Lana is in the house. Actually, while y'all getting settled, I'll start a little early so we can dive into good. I'm so glad. I've been meaning to ask you, Matt. Trainwreck is here. I want to say your first name, Trainwreck, but I never can. I even had a conversation about you with IOCDF saying, can I please say their first name? And I can't. So I could say Efkin Trainwreck. I like it. Sort of sounds like a J.K. Rowling character, like, you know, Efkin Trainwreck. No, okay. Anyway, maybe more of a Game of Thrones style. My name is Ethan Smith. I'm a national advocate for the IOCDF. Welcome to this evening's town hall. We have an awesome panel for you today. I'm super excited. Also, because I haven't spent a lot of time with Kara, Uma is waiting, and Kyle, you didn't really want to spend a very short amount of time with. So I like to publicly humiliate him, but he'll return in kind. So this town hall is intended to serve as educational content and is not intended to replace therapy. For treatment-related questions, please be sure to work with your local provider or contact the local clinician. The International IOC the IOCDF is not a crisis hotline. If you're in a crisis or ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please go to your local emergency room, call 911 or the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. We're going to create a safe space and be kind and respectful to everyone. And at the end of the day, we're here to support one another. Also, a note, this is being broadcast on several social media platforms and it's being recorded. So keep that in mind as we talk about and support each other. That wasn't very nice, Kyle, to kick out Kara.
I was going to say, you scared her away already. It's been 2 minutes.
That's probably accurate. Yeah, it's going to be a long 90 minutes. There's Astasia in Mexico City. Hello, OCD Crusher in the house. Lots of good folks. Hey, Sydney, it's good to see your green icon. And Kaitai Odune. Hi, Kaitai. It's nice to meet you. Robert Spence in the house. All right, so let's get started in making some introductions so you can get to know these fine human beings. We'll let Karis a chance to get back on, hopefully. We'll start with Uma. Uma's bio is long enough to give Kara some time to get on. I'm having the best time tonight. Nobody should let me on. See, it already worked. Amazing. Hi, Kara. Welcome back. No problem. Don't sweat it. If you come in and out.
Hi, I'm so sorry.
No worries at all.
Yeah,
No, you deserve
I'm so sorry about that. I have no clue why.
You're all good.
I'm the only one not white on white, maybe.
No problem. So Uma Chatterjee, and I pick on Uma because I love Uma, unlike Kyle, who I pick on because I don't like Kyle. Uma Chatterjee is a neuroscientist, board-certified mental health peer specialist, and an IOCDF advocate. Uma earned her MS in neuroscience from the University of Texas in Dallas, and is a neuroscience PhD student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison School of Medicine, studying the neurobiology of obsessive-compulsive disorder and novel therapeutics, including psychedelic, psychoplastogenic compounds. I practiced that beforehand. She has also conducted award-winning psychedelic research, studying the effects of psychedelic-assisted therapy. It's really hard to read with this in the way. So excuse me a moment while I move my cat. You're going to sit right here. Go ahead. Okay. Psychedelic-assisted therapy on comorbid OCD and PTSD across several disciplines, including neurobiology, pharmacology, psychology, clinical trial research design, and neuropsychopharmacology. Uma's research, MHPS practice, and advocacy are all informed by her lived experience with OCD, PTSD, young adult cancer, chronic illness, and being a non-traditional and disabled student. She serves as an IOCDF advocate on the board of directors of OCD Wisconsin, bridging the research and lived experience communities through educational initiatives and outreaching to historically excluded populations. Her survivorship serves as the bedrock of her advocacy, carried out through her work as an educator, speaker, science communicator, and host of the podcast, A Chat with Uma. She's slightly embarrassed now, but shouldn't be, because she actually is an incredible human being who we love dearly. Uma, how are you tonight?
Ethan, I told you could shorten it, and you didn't.
Oh, I didn't read that part of your email. I could have.
He couldn't get past the whole bio. He couldn't get to that.
I didn't know. I didn't even read that part. I was just like, oh, okay, well, this is fine. But are you gonna cry? Don't cry.
No, I'm good. I was just laughing.
Okay.
No, I'm so happy to be here. I'm thoroughly embarrassed, and such is life. But I love being here with all of you, and I'm really excited to talk about everything. And I have no filter, so get ready for that.
Don't be embarrassed. You can be on a live stream with Dr. Grayson, and his makes your bio look very small. So yeah. Next we have Kara Chung. I don't know why I say Kara. It's Kara Chung, right?
It's Kira, but
okay,
yeah,
Kira.
Whatever works.
No, not whatever
also,
works.
I want to preface. want to preface this by saying I am so sorry. I'm at the mercy of Rice University's internet at the moment. So if I glitched or if I keep coming in and out, please don't blame me. Blame Rice and their internet. But hi, I just want to say.
Do you not get good internet at Rice?
Normally we do. This time of night, though, is very, very bad. I don't know if it's because everybody's trying, like, after a long day, they're Netflix and chilling. I am not sure. But too many things.
I feel like with Rice's tuition, you should have solid Wi-Fi. I'm just saying.
Oh my God.
I heard they have good internet at Pasta. Get it?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Is that a dad joke, Kyle? That was a dad joke.
It was good. All right.
No, but me not laughing wasn't because I didn't get it. It just wasn't that funny. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, she went to Basmati High School, so that's why. All right. Kira is a freshman at Rice University, majoring in neuroscience, and is excited to join the Storch Lab as a research assistant in January 2024. Eric Storch, a regular guest on our live streams. Kira was diagnosed with OCD when she was 13 and has controlled and isolated her for many years. With treatment, she has significantly reduced OCD's impact on her life and now wishes to help others through her organization, Common Ground, which you can visit commongroundocd.com. We'll put that link in the chat. And her work as an IOCDF advocate and member of the IOCDF Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Action Council. Hi, Kira. Good to have you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and it's my first live with Kira.
Get to talk.
Yeah, I can't wait to get
to
just. No, you're perfect. You're absolutely perfect. I was just bragging. I'm excited to finally do a live with you. So.
Oh, definitely. Yes. I've been a big fan of all of your lives. So I'm happy to finally get to participate in one myself.
Stop. And Matt wrote, Uma is such a warrior. Uma's podcast is awesome. Katie wrote, Kyle and Kira with the burn. That was great. I agree. If you're just joining us, please let us know you're here. Say hello. Let us know where you're from. Last but certainly not least, we have the always regal, the always elegant, the always handsome Kyle King. Kyle is a senior at Yale University and a research assistant at the Yale OCD Research Clinic, where they clearly don't teach design. But anyway, Kyle was diagnosed with OCD when he was in 7th grade, and after a bunch of treatment. Did you write that after a bunch of treatment?
Yeah, I did.
And after some treatment and stuff, began advocacy work with IOCDF. He currently leads Yale, mind you. He currently leads most of the young adult events at the IOCDF and hopes to one day become a psychiatrist. Outside of the IOCDF, Kyle's a member of the UNICEF USA National Council and a national youth ambassador with UNICEF Global. Kyle, it's awesome to have you, man.
It feels unfair with like you being the host because you get the most time to insult me, and I have very little opportunity to throw it back to you.
I will tell you that I will give you as much time to insult me back as possible. We'll equal time.
Okay, okay. Let the games begin.
I've known Kyle since he was 13. I met him in 2015, and he was exactly the same. The sad thing about being brilliant when you're 15 is that as you get older, it gets less impressive. So Kyle's like going downhill, and in another 10 years, he'll just be another dude. You know that.
When Ethan met me, I was actually in this all white room too.
He was. All right. So first of all, tonight, for those of you that are just joining us, we're going to touch on two things. We're going to touch on a year in review. of the IOCDF. So many exciting things have happened, ranging from record numbers visiting the IOCDF website to the IOCDF Advocate Program to tons and tons of conferences, walks, events. So we're going to go over some highlights with you. We're also going to talk about the holiday blues, which is one of my favorite topics that we talk about every year, which is, of course, around this time of year, Thanksgiving, if you're in America, and Christmas, holidays, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you may celebrate, that feeling that you're supposed to be on and perfect and happy and everything is good, when in fact, you just honestly just want to feel how you feel in that moment, and the pressures along with that. So that will be this evening's. Why don't we get into a little bit of that conversation first, and then we'll jump over to some of the IOCDF stats a little bit later. So I'm actually going to start with Kira. So how are the holidays generally for you, Kira?
For me, I guess I'm starting to kind of come back around to the holiday season, specifically in December. A few years ago, I used to be a competitive gymnast, and it was around this time that I got really injured. So that's every year that kind of brought up some bad memories. But now I'm here at Rice. I'm prepping for final season, and I am super excited for the holiday season just because it brings my absolute favorite thing, which is the Starbucks peppermint mocha. If you know what I'm talking about, you know the hype. It is so good. But yeah, it does. Having OCD, it does have like a little bit of a drawback because a few years ago, like we used to travel for Christmas, and we used to go up to my aunt's house, and that's when my OCD was pretty much, I guess, maybe at its peak. And I was so worried about contamination and traveling and being in different spaces that I couldn't really connect with family, and that I couldn't really enjoy that time that I was getting to spend. But now I'm very thankful to have made a lot of progress since then. So I'm looking forward to making up for last time and things like that.
What did you feel a lot of pressure during that time, around the holidays, to feel like you had to be a certain way despite how you felt?
Oh, definitely. And especially as a kid, because everyone's like, oh, you're a kid, you don't have any worries. Like the holidays are supposed to be super fun and magical. But having OCD, that definitely took a lot of the joy away. But it did feel like I had to kind of plaster on a fake smile and just be happy for everybody else. Whereas in like the back of my brain, as is so common with OCD, there's me like overthinking, ruminating, can't stop, think about what if this touched that or something like that. But yeah, definitely always on the outside, I had to plaster on kind of like a happy face. So I want to let everybody know that you don't have to plaster on a happy face. Like it's okay not to be your best self all the time.
Thank you for sharing that. And I want to get back to you some thoughts about how you dealt with that. But I think everybody can relate to some, I mean, that's how we kind of move through life, right? When we're really struggling, we do plaster on a face as best we can. It just seems like there's always more pressure during this time. Kyle, what have the holidays been like for you historically, and how are they now?
Well, you can hear me? Oh, well and good.
I was just trying to not say something,
okay.
mean.
You looked confused.
No, I was just trying to be quiet, honestly. Yeah.
Okay, just like bask in the glory. So the holidays for me were like particularly bad when I was 13 and my OCD was at its peak. But I mean, even as I approach the holidays now, like I've done treatment and stuff, as my bio said. But I always have this like feeling when I go into the holidays that like everyone looks forward to this time. And like, I know my family is like, at least from the outside, it looks like they're genuinely having fun. And like, I don't always feel like I'm genuinely having fun. And like, maybe it's an OCD reason, maybe it's like some of the comorbid depression, or maybe it's just like, not a great day. Like outside pressure, people telling me, oh, Kyle, like you're a kid, lighten up, smile. It's more like me telling myself, like, look at all these, like your family, your loved ones, they're having so much fun. Why can't you? Like, what's wrong?
Oh, that was a hard stop. Was that it?
I mean, I have something else. I don't know if you wanted to comment.
No, I mean I did, but it had nothing to do about that. I have a new joke, but go ahead, please continue.
Okay. The other thing that like kind of lingers from my past contamination worries is every time I get new stuff, I still feel this like this hint of OCD that's like, okay, this is new. You don't want to contaminate it. So you should probably like put it in your room. Like if it's clothes per se, like put it in your room, put it in a drawer. And like maybe let's not wear it for the first week, give it some time to like cool off. And there's always that impulse in me, and it takes a concerted effort on my part to like fight that every holiday season, and it creates some conflict with like my mom. Santa Claus, sorry, Santa, because Santa will bring me presents, and I'll ask for presents from Santa that are clothes, and Santa will be like, oh, are you gonna wear that? Like, is that something that you're actually going to be able to use? Is your OCD gonna get in the way of you actually using that present? And for years at this point, that's a question that I've like really had to address, and I still have to address it. So, and I always feel weird getting things like clothes because I know my OCD is going to try to take them away from me. Hard stop.
Okay. That's. I think that's really, really relatable, and I think that, and also just I get stressed out opening gifts in front of people too because it's like
I'm so bad at reacting.
Yeah. Yeah. On top of that, either reacting a certain way, and then on top of that, if I feel triggered or if I feel stuck, having to like be present and pay attention and all that other stuff. So I relate to that. Thank you for sharing, Kyle. Uma, how are the holidays for you?
I was thinking about this. I'm glad you called on me last because I really had to formulate my thoughts, because I realized for me, the holidays, number one, I didn't really grow up culturally. Like I grew up in America in an South Asian family, first generation immigrants. And I didn't really like celebrate any of the holidays that people celebrate other than like having the time off. And then like sometimes like going to like a parent's like holiday party at work or something. And so there was already the layer of feeling isolated and like culturally confused because I didn't celebrate them. And I felt like I never got gifts. I didn't like until much later. And like Santa wasn't a thing. And then like I remember my first Christmas, I got gifts because like I asked so much. It was like in a trash bag. Like it was just a bunch of stuff I needed, like, but in a trash bag. So like, anyway, all that to say, it's kind of funny. You can laugh. But all that to say, there's already this built-in feeling of feeling other, but then even more so, like having all these people be so happy around me. And I went undiagnosed with multiple things, especially OCD, for decades, till I was really treatment 25. So I just went so long being like, I didn't even feel like I was sad and other people were happy and I should be happy. I felt more like, and I know those are really reductionist words, but I felt more like this is what happy is. And like, there's something wrong with me that I can't be like other people. And if this is the best it can get, like, what is the point? And it was just really hopeless for a while. And then I think there's also the element for me personally of a lot of horrible things like related to my life and my past experiences, traumas even, that were hugely informed by undiagnosed and untreated OCD, like happened around the holidays. And I don't think that's a coincidence in terms of just having the time off and being so, extra, the concentration of being miserable because you have so much time on your hands. Like my first suicide attempts were around the holidays. We can get more into it. I was in a religious cult, and a lot of stuff during the holidays was during that time. And so for me now, in recovery and treatment, is a lot of allowing all of that to exist, allowing the pain and sadness to exist, and not having this expectation that the holidays need to be better now that I'm in recovery. And like, it can just be what it is. And I can have that time to process and to just recognize also equally that life is different now. And these are just times. And also like, it's time off, and maybe turning it to a positive in that way that I get to sleep more. I don't know. So it's hard.
I relate a lot to that. And I'm also going to open it up to the, to those of you that are watching. Please feel free to comment on how I like to make this as interactive as possible. So please feel free to comment on how your holidays are, what you're feeling right now, what's been the past, whatever's on your mind. But I actually really relate to that, Uma, considerably. And it wasn't necessarily, for me, it wasn't about, not being happy when other people were happy. It was more about like the expectation of what I was supposed to do and what people were wanting me to do. And I remember multiple times, through no fault of my mother's, because she didn't know, but I remember time and time either her coming to my room and saying like, you better sit at the table and like act like you're enjoying this, because people are counting on, and getting that kind of pressure. Or even after I moved and was a adult child, and and like, are you coming over for Hanukkah dinner? Are you coming over for Thanksgiving? You need to be coming over. You need to be, the whole family is going to be there. And it was just like, I don't know what to tell you. This is just where I'm at the moment. And it's like that insane pressure of feeling that I needed to be something that I didn't know how to be, was really, really challenging. And it's interesting too, Uma, because it really doesn't matter. And Kyle and Kira, it really doesn't matter what the religious or faith background is around the holidays. I mean, this pertains to really any instance where a group is gathering together and, wants you to be or feel a certain way, based on an expectation, and just the inability to be that way in that moment. You insert whatever you want it to be, whether it's Thanksgiving or July 4th or whatever. Some quick comments. Michael Alice, good to see you, Michael. Kyle, you make such a good point about the kinds of high expectations and perfectionism that makes the holidays such a ripe time for OCD. Mindy wrote, I get this, Kyle. I feel exactly the same way. Why is everyone relaxed and laughing while I'm a ball of anxiety if I said the wrong thing or wasn't listening to what others were saying? So obviously, that very much resonates. Michael at 7:22 p.m. wrote, don't those of us with OCD truly have such overactive minds and we get creatively restless during the holiday? Which is another interesting point. Is there too much time? Is it a moment to reflect and sit back and let the, Kira will be home from school most likely, and is that not distracted? Does that perhaps make the holidays more challenging?
Yeah, I can add on to that a little bit.
Please.
Even in high school, I guess, coming off of like going into winter break, you're fresh off of finals and everything, and that's been like grind time, working really hard season. And just studying, and you've just been really, really busy every day. And so after you're kind of done with school and you're on this holiday break, your brain's like, oh, like, what do I do now? Like, I'm so used to be doing something every single minute of the day. And then with people with OCD, they're like, I know, I'll just find something new to obsess over and make that my entire like life and everything that I've been thinking about over this whole break. And so for me, definitely, free time is nice in theory, and it sounds like everything else is bringing me so much stress, and I'll finally get to decompress when I have that amount of time. But I don't know why my brain just makes new things for me to stress about during that time. And during that time, my OCD normally does kind of flare up a little bit. It's been better in these like past few years now that I've been holding myself accountable and I'm more self-aware of what everything looks like. And I'm able to recognize that I'm maybe having more intrusive thoughts or things like that. But yeah, it is really difficult when you have a lot of free time and you don't have anything necessarily to fill it. So OCD is like, I will do that for you. Like, don't you even worry. So yeah.
It's amazing what it comes up with too. It's like, you're like, oh, if I could just have some free time, some just quiet time to myself. And then you get it. And like the stuff it tries to find and pick on, it's like, in 2016, you said that thing to that person. And I wonder if that person's mad at you. And I'm like, wait, what? Do I need to reach out? I mean, it's crazy. So good question at 7:22 p.m. by our friend Nathan. Nathan wrote, I've wondered if somebody asks you how you are doing, and the truth is you're not doing too good. Should you just go ahead and tell them the truth anyway? It's a great question. So I'm gonna let Uma jump on this, and then we can all weigh in. Go ahead, Uma.
I think in the question you said, should you just go ahead? And I think the question more is, can you go ahead? Because I don't think you should do anything, but I think if you feel safe with that person, and also if you feel like you want to be honest about your experience, then you absolutely should be able to do that. And I think you're worthy of taking up that space and time. And I understand feeling like you don't want to burden somebody else, but you are allowed to show up as your authentic self. And however they react is not on you, it's on them. And if they don't have the capacity to hold your actual feelings, then that's information for you to know if you want to engage with them or if you want to be authentic with them, right? But you're never going to know if you don't try. And you deserve to have people in your life who you can be honest with, and you're not responsible for other people's reactions or moods or them feeling sad for you. That's compassion, and you're deserving of having that. Thank
you, Uma. Kyle or Kira, you want to weigh in a little bit? Go ahead, Kyle.
That was a crazy response. That was the best thing I've ever heard anyone say ever. I I was thinking something, I guess, like along similar lines, but way less eloquent. That like for me, it's always been like I've thought that in my head. Like sometimes I'm really having a crappy day. Do I tell this person like, hey, I'm having a crappy day? And it just depends on my relationship with that person for the most part. Like if it's my mom or someone that I actively speak to about my OCD, then like I probably will be more honest with them. But like for a decent amount of my extended family, I don't feel that comfortable, and like I hide it, like Kira did with like a plastered smile, and it doesn't feel good, but I don't feel that comfortable quite yet, which is ironic since I'm on a live stream right now. But
I think, go ahead, Kira.
Oh, I was just going to kind of tack onto that. It definitely depends on who you're talking to and whether they would kind of understand your struggles. Like I love my family to death, but sometimes they don't truly understand what it's like to have OCD, and they don't fully understand like the depth of it and how it affects my everyday life. So when I try to kind of talk about it, they're like, oh yeah, like kind of like how bad could it be? So in those kind of times, I will say like, I'm not doing too great, obviously trying to be my advocate self and bring awareness and educate people. But sometimes it's difficult opening yourself up to something that you're so vulnerable about, and something, because OCD is so often stigmatized and stereotyped, people can draw their own conclusions and thus like make conclusions about you as a person. And that can be really hard to kind of think about. So I do have like a tendency to kind of like close off and in true people pleaser fashion, just be like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Like, how are you? But yeah, it's really important to be honest with people who you know care about you. And if they're not receptive of that, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't completely care. They just might not understand. And that's what all of us advocates are working to kind of help spread awareness of. So yeah.
I love that, Kira. Yeah, y'all are brilliant. And it's so fun to be on a stream where Kyle's actually the third smartest person here. But Uma, Kira, Uma, even you, and then me down below. I'm gonna add on to what Kira said. I think everybody touched on this idea of like it depends who you're talking to, right? But I also want to talk about, you said something interesting, Nathan. You know, obviously we have a very black or white, all or nothing mind. And typically we will generally default to this concept of I'm not going to say anything or I'm going to tell you everything, right? And I think we can operate in the gray in terms of that as well. I think that you know, yes, depends who you're talking to, whether it's a close family member or an extended family, as Kyle said, or a friend or whatever. But I also think that we don't have to share everything with them. And just because we feel like we need to tell them the truth, there's different levels of the truth. And I'm not saying different lies or not, but for instance, right, if somebody with cancer, and Uma might be able to relate to this, went to a party after chemo and looked kind of down, somebody's like, are you okay? It's like, well, yeah, I had my chemo today. I'm just not feeling so hot, but you know, I'm here and hopefully we'll have a good time. I would feel like that's a very appropriate answer if that was something that Uma was comfortable with sharing, let's say, for instance, right? But she doesn't need to go into like, as someone with OCD, it'd be like, oh my God, I just can't stop having these thoughts and blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't have to say that, right? You can simply say, I'm just kind of struggling right now, but you know, I'll be fine. And you know, we'll have the best time as we can. And I think you can mitigate what you feel like you have to say, which is like, a lot of times the desire to say it all because otherwise you're not being honest, versus, you know, you don't owe anybody anything. And that's why I think Uma also picked up on your word of should. Like, should, there's no should. She's absolutely correct. Like, there's no rule or law. There's no right or wrong here. It's all individual choices and options. So I think like understanding that you can operate in the gray of what feels healthy and a good boundary for you, and to simply say, yeah, I'm just dealing with some stuff tonight, not feeling great, but I hope we can all have a good time, and leave it at that. You don't owe anyone else a further explanation unless that's something value driven and meaningful to you. I just quickly want to jump back up because I can't find it, but Erica McCoy said she loved seeing all these young adults here. So I just wanted to thank her for including me in that group. And Michael left, but he wrote an interesting comment at 7:23 p.m. Michael wrote, "It's also interesting that those with OCD are so overtuned into what others need." I thought that was an interesting observation. We obviously talk a lot about moral scrupulosity and feeling responsible. And that's the other half of this, right? It's not just I don't feel good because I have to go to a holiday dinner. It's if I don't feel good and I go, I will upset everyone else and they'll be mad at me, or I'll ruin their good time. Or Kyle, can you speak a little bit to that about like the over responsibility feel for other people's emotions, especially during this time?
Yeah. When Kira was talking, she mentioned being a people pleaser, and I was like, oh my God, yes, like that's a perfect word to describe how I am during this time. Cause like I can be dealing with whatever in my own head, but like I understand, or at least I think I understand that like all my family is having fun, and like I don't want to be the person that messes that up. And like I just want to suck up all the pain that I can so they don't have to feel it. And that's primarily what drives a lot of what I don't share. So I fully understand that. And I think that, I mean, Ethan, you kind of said it. It's something to do with just kind of I think like this inflated sense of responsibility is like the word that people use with respect to OCD. Like if I say I'm doing bad, then like that's necessarily going to ruin everything for the rest of the day. And everyone's going to start feeling bad. Like you said, you can operate in shades of gray with respect to some of that. It's not like you say you're doing bad and then everything's, terrible for the rest of the day. And people can hear that and then go about their day. They choose how to operate with that information. So yeah, I don't have anything too intelligent to say, but I fully understand the feeling. And I think I don't have anything intelligent to say because like, that's something that I'm going to go home in a week and deal with, like this sense of I better be having a good time or else I know my dad's not going to have a good time because I'm not.
Do you think, okay, so here's a question for everybody. I'm just tossing out. And I think I know the answer to this, but do we feel like we should have a good time around the holidays because we actually want to experience joy during that time? Or are we more worried about upsetting other people?
Totally the latter.
Kira?
Yeah, I was just about to say definitely the latter. And I think that the holiday season is really like romanticized and everybody expects you to be having a good time. And especially like a few times we've gone up to my aunt's house in Maryland for Christmas. And during those times, my OCD had been pretty severe. And so the whole time I was just doing compulsions and people would need to check on me. And I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I swear I'm almost done. Just like one more thing. Or I would feel like I'm ruining everybody's vacation and everybody's time by just doing my compulsion. I'm like, I swear I'm like almost done, or just like, I'm sorry, I just really have to do this. And yeah, it's definitely really difficult. And it also like forced me to like hide a lot of my compulsions. And I started like doing them more in private and they became a little bit more severe and things like that. And it was just really difficult because I don't want to, everybody else has difficult lives and they work and everything, and the time off that they have, they should be able to enjoy it too, and I shouldn't be taking away from their enjoyment just because I have an issue. So that's also something that was really cognizant and on my mind. So yeah.
Uma, what about you? Thank you, Kira.
I think mine's a little different because I wasn't necessarily in the same position as y'all, but what I did experience through really every time, but especially through like holiday seasons, even holidays related to my own culture, was like, what's wrong with you that like you can't be better? Like you should be better. Like you must be so, especially with the cultural stuff, you must be so spoiled, or you must be so like, lucky that you have anything to even worry about. Like there's no reason that you should be not doing perfectly. And I think that's where the shame comes in of like, I need to feel this way so that I'm living up to like all the privilege that I have relative to like my past generations and like family and stuff. So that it's more of like it's not ruining their happiness because like the holidays are supposed to be happy, but because it's letting them down because I'm supposed to be better than I am.
Wow, that's an insanely heavy burden, Uma. It's like you're carrying like thousands of generations behind you. You know, it's like that's intense. That's a very heavy burden, and that's an interesting observation, and that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that, and I'm sure I guarantee you people can relate to that as well, as Valerie just said. True, Uma. Yeah, it's really interesting how like, you know, all of ours, and I use our in conjunction of everybody here. It's like our holiday season isn't about like, I want to be happy because I want to have fun. You know, it's like I want to be happy ranging from because I want everyone else around me to be happy, or like I owe it to everyone that came before me to be happy. And I think that's a really fascinating thing. And in reality, we all enjoy, you know, a full, joyous life as much as we can. But it's also important to point out, and we talk about, I don't know, we talk about this often, but we talk about, you know, the human experience during the holidays. You know, individuals with OCD aren't the only ones that fret and worry that their holiday season, anything from financial burdens and human experience and common humanity to I have to work and am I going to let my kids down? You don't need OCD to, you know, uniquely worry about this time of year. I think that the pressure is on for everybody. And, you know, and like we always say, you know, life, OCD on top of life can make it just a little extra challenging, but so can many other things as well. So, it's about 7:38. I love that we're answering some questions. So with all of that being said, and feel free to weigh in, y'all, as you, well, real quick, Phyllis left an interesting comment. For several years, this is 7:38 p.m., Brennan. For several years, I would spend Christmas night after all the festivities were over planning new ERP assignments for myself. It gave me a sense of hope as the post-holiday letdown sit in. I love that. That's amazing. And kind of reminds me of Tiger Woods, like, you know, after he would complete a tournament, he would go practice, you know, everybody else would be celebrating. And I really love that. And ISIS stage at 7:38 p.m. wrote, my family's kind of fed up with my OCD symptoms and they get annoyed when I'm having a flare. I definitely don't share a thing with them anymore when I'm struggling. And I think we can all relate to that as well. And I'm sorry for that. And I think we definitely can talk. We have a lot of live streams about navigating family, not just during the holidays, but in general. And we can definitely point you to some resources. So with that, I am curious where we are today as we approach the upcoming holiday season, December. We'll start with Kyle. What are you doing? If you don't mind sharing, how are you going into it? How are you approaching? What are some skills and tools that you look forward to using or not using? And we could be like, point you back to this town hall and be like, you said it. Cause I'm a master of like, do as I say, not as I do. So Kyle, what are some skills and tools that you think about you're going to employ during this time?
Yeah, there's been a couple of considerations that have been going around my head lately. First, and this is kind of getting back to something Kira talked about a while ago. When I have free time, my OCD tends to spike, but primarily like I'll just feel like a void in my chest, and I'll just be like overcome with this sense of being depressed. And I felt it here like last week because I didn't have that much schoolwork, and for the first time all semester, like I could think about things that weren't school, and like I immediately was overcome with a sense of like worthlessness. And I know that when the second I'm done with school here and I go home, I'm going to be overcome with that sense again. So one thing that I really want to focus on is like, one, being very mindful and trying not to get sucked up in like, oh, you could be doing this, you could be doing that. You should be doing all these different things to like make the world a better place or like become a better person. And just be present in the moment with my family. And another thing that I want to focus on is just like, I guess observing my family, or like just acknowledging that like, hey, these are all humans. Like, look at them. They're not all like having a rock star time, smiling all the time. Like not everyone is just living a life that is 100% happy all the time. Like, we're all people. It's the holidays. We're all family. Sometimes things are fun. Sometimes things aren't. Like, that's just what life is. So like, I don't need to be putting this incredible pressure on myself to achieve this like total state of ecstasy throughout the holidays, because no one is. So like, why should I bear that burden?
That actually reminds me of when COVID hit, right? You talk to somebody and it was a year later. It's like, I developed cold fusion energy and learned 12 languages. What did you do? And it was like, watch TV for 6 months. I mean, I don't know. And it was the same kind of thing, right? I started to feel like, oh my gosh, I should have done all this stuff with my time. And I didn't. But you're absolutely right. Why is it okay? It's totally okay to just be where you are and be present. And you have plenty of time to like try to solve the world's problems, right? It's like, it's okay to be where you are and just be mindful and centered. Uma, what does your holiday season look like? What are some skills and tools that you're thinking about using?
Yeah, so I'm in treatment, and that's been something we've been talking about a lot in general with, having any free time, and also specifically with the upcoming free time I'm going to have, especially because in my PhD program, like this is probably the only year I'll even have like free time for like, and from now, like, so I've really got to savor it. So, I mean, my MO has always been like, just like you, Kyle, like with that void that I feel, like what I do is just like take on so much to do that like I don't even have a break. And it was really hard for me with my values to parse out like the things I'm doing, like I genuinely value, I genuinely feel good about them. I love all the things I take on. At the same time, I am constantly waiting for a time to like have a break. And then the minute I have a break, and that I cope using doing all the things that that I love doing, but I shouldn't really be doing because I need a break. And so I'm really working on not feeling this moral imperative or excuse to just like busy myself with like all the projects and things that I am too busy to give all my attention to during the school year. And I think we were all just talking about like we don't need to be like ecstatic through the holidays. Like for me, I'm really trying to sit with like the expectation for me is just to get by. Like if that expectation is to get by, like that's a really low bar, and anything that's above the getting by is like great. But if I just get by, like I don't need to be happy. I don't need to be like living my best life. Like I just need to be okay. And getting by for me is like honoring the pain and sadness and sorrow and voidalness, and then also like filling my time with things that are not productive, but are just giving me joy. Because I don't know about y'all, but I really struggle with having hobbies because like they're just for personal joy and satisfaction and not like outcome oriented. And I find myself working on constant like outcome oriented things. And also I'm curious if anyone experiences this too, but like OCD took so much of my, like for so long, like rendered me ineffectual and kind of like useless. And so now, like at least in the way I perceive it. So now that I have like this gift of recovery, I almost feel like I need to overcompensate and just do and do and do and like live so much in the time I have because I lost so much time. And I'm really trying to like notice that and also like not feel like I have to act on that belief. Like I can just be. So yeah, I'm basically just trying to chill. I got a bass for sale on Black Friday or whatever. So I'm going to try to learn bass in a non-productive way and color and read stupid books, not learning books, stupid books. Yes, Ethan?
What's bass?
It's the easier guitar. It's not, it's the one with the four.
Like, you're a neuroscientist. I'm like, oh, this must be some code language for their computer. You're like, yeah, like it's not the guitar, it's the bass. Okay, I got you. That's hilarious and embarrassing.
It's the
No, I was straight up like in neuroscience, like BASC. Okay, like that's got to be some like
a new degree.
Yeah, like there's some like coder language that she wants to learn so she can like program her own software. Okay, right. Clap the bass. Got it. I'm with you. Awesome. By the way, this is an awesome town hall. Y'all are so like on the nose and just so much good information here. And I know everybody's saying the same thing in the comments. So thank you, Kira. I know you mentioned you're going home. So what does your holidays look like? What do you anticipate possibly dealing with those feelings?
Yeah, so I will be going home. I'm super excited to see my dog, spend a lot of good quality time with him, give him lots and lots of snuggles because I've missed him since I've been away. But yeah, other than that, I don't have too many major crazy plans. I'm just looking forward to kind of chilling, spending some time with my mom because I really missed her since I've been at school. And yeah, just kind of quality time. And I'm, as far as like skills and things that I'm going to be working on, at school, like I said, I've been super busy recently. And so OCD has kind of been, like, I'm very thankful for this. It's kind of been like the least of my worries. I was kind of talking to somebody earlier in the day, and I'm like, yeah, my OCD is actually doing like pretty good. I just like have too many other things to be like stressed out about. So I'm a little bit worried when I go home, things will start to come back. But throughout my kind of treatment and OCD journey, I've developed a lot of skills and being very mindful of things. And when I'm like starting to restart old compulsions that I've stopped, and I'm really thankful for that kind of level at where I'm at now, where I feel like I have all the tools that I need to succeed and I just need to implement them. Another thing that's kind of, I don't know, worrying me a little bit about going home is just because in that house, I was at like the lowest point of my life, and going back there, I know that it's just going to bring back some of those feelings, and I'm so thankful to be really happy where I am right now. But I'm just worried that when I go back, it will kind of set me back into that headspace of 2021. What was I, like 15, 16-year-old Kira, really just struggling to get by. And a lot of the things that I used to do at home also were compulsions. And now, like, looking back on them, I feel like I wouldn't need to do them, but I'm worried that being back in that space will also kind of like trigger me to be like, oh, I used to do this when I opened the gate to the upstairs or something. Now I feel like, even though I don't have to, it's what I've always done, so why would I stop? And so I feel like I just need to get that out of my head and be like, Kira, no, you have made so much progress and you just need to keep plugging away. But yeah, I'm just a little bit worried in like that respect, but it should be good. I should be having some time to reflect, some time to spend with family, and get mentally prepared and everything for the spring semester, which should be interesting.
Okay, firstly, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about that. I think that was really brave to share. I relate to that a whole lot. I don't know, maybe Uma and Kyle do too, in the sense that, I mean, when I would go home, and granted, I was an adult, not anymore apparently, but you know, when I left, when I got better and moved out to Los Angeles and I went to visit my parents at home, that was the home where I was at my darkest, where I was hospitalized, and I really struggled to go back home. And so I can relate to that, not exactly in the way, of course, but in a similar way of apprehension and a little bit of fear. And I think one of the things that really transformed the experience for me was not simply just understanding that like I was in a much better place now, and that, you know, but also like making room for the emotions that I'm going, you know, that I knew I was going to experience, you know, and being okay with those, expecting the thoughts, expecting the feelings, expecting some discomfort, you know, and really just opening up and embracing that and being okay with experiencing that, recognizing that that was your experience, that was a part of you, but it doesn't define you. It's not who you are now. It's not who you're becoming. And I think you can also draw strength from that, you know, understanding that, you know, reminding yourself of where you are now, and also not putting pressure on that kind of pressure on yourself to be like, okay, you know, I'm going into enemy territory and I've got to, like, yes, be alert, but also make room for it all, you know, and don't feel like you're not allowed to feel sad or fear or discomfort, because those feelings were very real back then. And there's some stuff to mourn there and process, as you said, you know, so I think you're going to be great. And that's true for anybody that's been through these experiences. You know, we go back and it's scary, but at the same time, we're going back a different human being with skills and tools and values and all kinds of choices at our disposal that we didn't have before. So we're going back armed in a way, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to feel icky when we're there. So I think it's totally okay to have those feelings and embrace them and let them be there, and just let them breathe and expect them, and that's okay. And you can make room for them and allow them to grow. Hopefully that was okay to say. Also, I do want to point out, when we first asked Kira if Kira's family is watching, it was dog, chill, and then mom. So just so we're clear, mom is number 3 on Kira's excitement list. Sorry, mom.
Unfortunately, she is aware of that. I know, but the chilling does go in hand in hand. We love nothing more than to binge watch a good show together. But unfortunately, the dog might just come first.
Absolutely.
Sorry, he's too cute. Can't just say no to him.
As it should. Kira brought up, I know this isn't the holidays, but Kira brought up an interesting point. I'm wondering, Kyle or Uma. I mean, Kyle, I think if I keep up inappropriately with your family, they still live at the house you grew up in.
Yeah.
Let me check my video monitor, my Nest
Yeah, I was
Cam.
gonna say, like, did you Google that yesterday, right?
No. It's on my Nest Cam that I installed outside your house in 2014.
Cool. I saw that. I was confused.
Yeah, it's weird. So, like, do you have all kinds of? I mean, I know people who know your story. You're in your room, and like when you go back to that space, how does that make you feel?
Yeah. Well, when Kira said that, it reminded me, like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen too. Because there's I know when I walk around my house, I'll see things that. So for people who don't know, I have contamination OCD, and I really struggled when I was 13. And like all around my house, there are different things that were super contaminated back then to me. And like, I couldn't touch them. I wouldn't go within 6 feet of them. And now when I go back, they're all still there. It's the same house. Ethan knows. And I'll see a cabinet, let's say, and I'll see the knob on the cabinet, and I'll think, I know that's contaminated. Like, I feel like it's contaminated, and I can't remember why it's contaminated anymore. I just get this like visceral feeling when I look at it. They're like, yeah, I can't touch that. And I have to like consciously remind myself, like, Kyle, do you remember what the hell happened last time you went down this path and started avoiding cabinet handles? Like, do you remember where you ended up? And like, do you know where you are now? Like, do you really want to try that again? And I mean, it sounds like a stupid thing to tell myself, but I have to tell myself that like 50 times a day, every time I go home, because it's so slippery. The second I get back in my house, I feel like all these, every time I look at an object, I can remember like, oh, I can't touch that. And then I have to tell myself consciously. And I'll be honest with people on the stream, I don't do it perfectly every time. And like, there are still things in my house that are still contaminated to me. And my mom if she's watching, she probably knows what I avoid, because she watches me like a hawk when I'm home. So I'll go home and Ethan's watching me like a hawk through the Nest Cam. And I'll go home and I'll have this struggle again. But Ethan, you said like making room for those feelings is super helpful. I've always found like kind of being a drill sergeant with myself helpful, and saying like really, Kyle, is this what is like this? We've tried this. And consider like, okay, this is the path that would take me down. Going with the compulsion. This is the path that not doing the compulsion in this moment and feeling crappy for a little bit. Sure. This is the path this would take me down. Which one do I want to take? Hard stuff.
I think you can be a compassionate drill sergeant. Right?
Yeah.
I agree. I use my past all the time. Like when I want to compulse and I'm like, do I really want to end up back in a psychiatric hospital being diagnosed psychotic? Nope. I'm going to eat this or do this thing or whatever. I'm not perfect at it. It doesn't mean that I don't compulse. It doesn't mean that I don't get stuck, but it really is a good motivator. And conversely, it's a really good motivator to remind yourself where you are now, as Kira was saying, and where she's happy in her life, and where, be quiet, Valerie. I see you making digs at me. Somebody asked how old everybody was, and Val was like, Ethan's the only old one.
Look at this white hair, y'all. Sorry. Continue.
Have you seen all of Ethan's head?
No, you can't. It doesn't even fit the screen. I've been thinking about this. I feel very boxed in. It's not like I can't move here. But anyway, and conversely, like I love that. I mean, I love that in Kira's life, OCD plays a small role right now. That's incredible and amazing, and I should give anybody watching so much hope that you can get there too. And it's why we advocate. So younger and younger continue to get treatment. And, Kyle, if you need to go home and remind yourself that you wear white on white at a DMV office and that inspires you, then you should go. You should do that.
That's the dream.
Yeah. Oh, Uma. And then somebody asked a question, then we'll get to some IOCDF stuff. Are there any places in your life that kind of bring up stuff for you that you have to visit? Can you relate to this in any way?
Oh yeah, so much. So everything everyone said, and I just moved to Wisconsin, and it's my first time in 16 years that I'm not in Dallas where I lived before, where
You
so
moved in
much
the
of my
winter
life
time in Wisconsin,
I
and
moved
you're a
3 months
neuroscientist.
ago. I moved 3 months or 4 months ago in the summer when it was perfect, and you're gonna visit and you're gonna fall in love. I know.
Okay.
But until then, so it's actually my first holiday season, not in the area that I spent much of my life, suffering deeply and had so many horrific memories. And to the point of what everyone was talking about, there's a part of me that felt like, in a compulsive way, like, because I have a tendency that, oh, if something's hard, I have to do it. Like, it doesn't matter if it's values driven. Like, which I didn't realize for a while, if it's hard, I have to do it. So I had this belief that, like, oh, I need to go back to Dallas and I need to, like, experience the holidays and face my fears and, like, continue to habituate to it or whatever. And I thought really hard about it. And for me, it's not values driven to go back to Dallas. I love it in Madison. Me and my husband and my dog are there, and it's going to be like such a nice winter, and we have plans to have a beautiful, like, time off during the holiday season, and I could go back and I could experience all of that. And should it be values driven for me, I would, but it's not. So I'm not going to force myself to do that. And for me, that is the exposure. But to everyone's point, like, the house I grew up in, it's not, so my mom has left the house that I grew up in, but she kept my whole room completely, like, the same furniture, like everything intact, and, like, moved it to a new house. So even going to that, like, new house, like, going back into that room, it's like a time warp. It's, it brings back everything. And living in that same area, like going down certain roads, like even going back to the university I went to where, like, my OCD was at its worst and I had dropped out after 2 years, like, and then I, finished my degrees there. Like, it was so hard. So, but also I just want to say, like, if it's not value, like, there's definitely a line where you can tell yourself that it's not values driven, but really it's avoidance. So really think about that. But, like, if it's not values driven, you don't need to go back to. There's just that perspective as well. Also, there's a whole conversation going on in the chat about, like, me playing the bass and what that's going to look like. And I think that's hilarious. And I just want to quickly say, most people, y'all probably don't know this, but, like, I used to be a musician. I was in music school in between, like, dropping out of college and going back to college for my science degrees. And, like, I used to play instruments. And so that's why it's not out of the blue. Like, I can play by ear. I just have never played bass. And I used to be very compulsive about, like, I have to do it perfectly, not because I want to, but I have to, and I can't stop until I get it right. And it doesn't feel satisfying when I get it right. It's just like a compulsion. So I'm really going into the bass, like, I'm just going to play this for fun. And anyway, I love that there's, like, a whole story going on about how I'm going to play, what I'm going to play, what room I'm going to be in. I will be in my office with the psychedelic posters.
Well, the cool part is she doesn't know that we're going to do a live stream concert called OCD and Bass, and it's going to be all Uma all the time. We can do a station. There's a lot of things to work with. And also, Uma, I relate to you, and I think you raise a good point too. Like, I went home to that house 3 or 4 times from LA, and after, like, the 3rd or 4th time, I went back to LA and I called my therapist, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, it's just not, I was having some PTSD and some trauma around it. And it just, like, to you, we talked about what was value driven. Yes, my family is, but that place isn't, and even when they moved, I found Florida a little bit difficult to visit. And since then I've been back numerous times and we were there together and so forth. But I totally relate to that piece of it where I did go 3 or 4 times and then went, you know what? This isn't for me, and I can make this choice at this point. But I think going back and trying and experiencing, and not avoiding at first is important to understand, where you're at in regards to that. So that's a great point. Wow, this conversation has been awesome. And real quick, I want to answer. I don't know if anybody has any insight into this, but Sangeeta at 7:57 p.m. It's either Sangeeta or Sangeeta. I apologize for the hard or soft G. Does it help to have a dog? Are there specially trained dogs for OCD and anxiety? The short answer is yes. There most definitely are service dogs, mental health service dogs. I'll let Kira answer specifically if helping a dog was helpful.
I have such a good answer to this, actually. Yes, having my dog was so incredibly helpful. Actually, one of for kind of like backgrounds, my main subtype of OCD was contamination. And so there was a point where I couldn't even like walk into my room without having been like freshly showered, or once I exited my room, I couldn't go back in or like touch my bed, or like if I brushed up against something. But then there will be like my dog who will literally like lay on the floor outside, but on the few occasions where he's allowed upstairs because my mom hates how much he sheds. But he just gets so happy. He absolutely loves my bed because I have a big fluffy comforter. He'll just like roll in it. And it makes me so happy to see him happy. He was never really like too much of like the subject for my OCD. It was kind of like always a weird exception just because I loved him so much and I like to see him happy and being all cute and everything. But yeah, there was definitely times where there were like some difficult things, and it was enjoyable having him like next to me. I remember when I was like working on kind of going out of my room and then walking back in and kind of like touching my bed or like actually crawling into bed or something, I would kind of invite him up there with me, and it would be kind of like a solidarity thing, like me and my best bud. People can do hard things and we're doing it together. Yeah, I think Cody, that's his name, was a really big help for me. Love him the most. But yeah, that's just my experience. I know a lot of people whose OCD does center around their pets. I was very thankful that wasn't necessarily something that I really dealt with. He was always the exception, like I said. But it was really helpful to have him kind of just like be there as my little rock.
And I remember when I was at the OCDI in Boston, one of the social workers, Perry, brought in her dog all the time, and we got to play. So it was definitely therapeutic. Kira, I'm actually wondering, like, when you first got to school without Cody, was that challenging for you to like come in a room and not have Cody there?
It actually was. And of course, I attended high school online. So I was pretty much home all day, every day. So he was always like right there by my side. So coming to school was definitely a big adjustment. I am very lucky that my mom lives maybe like an hour away, so I can go home some weekends and things like that. But it was a big adjustment. I did require many, many FaceTime photos from my mother. I was like, I need my Cody fix right now. I need you to like take a picture of him.
Oh, you need a Cody cam.
I do need a Cody cam.
A
Yes,
little GoPro
I need,
live feed on his
permanently training GoPro. Yes, that would. If I do end up getting one of those, I will post it on some type of social media because everybody should get to see that.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. So, with that being said, on this topic, I want to thank everyone for asking questions and deep diving into Uma's bass hobby. I'm super psyched to hear her play. We'll all hear her play. And
they literally posted my old like YouTube channel when I sang, and people are. I'm amazed, y'all.
Yeah, sleuthing is a really intense skill of this group. So, but thank you, Kyle and Kira and Uma, for your insight and experiences. See, Basadelics. I thought that was a good name.
What about tripping on bass?
Tripping on that's good too. It's good too.
That's all I've been thinking about for the last like 5 minutes.
I know. I actually had the DMV joke at 7:13, so I held it for like 35 minutes.
Just winding up.
Yeah. So with that, I want to get to some urine review IOCDF stuff, but I want to include all of you because you're all been so incredibly active with the IOCDF, and the IOCDF wouldn't be where they are without all of you. So before I go into some facts and figures, which I will be looking at for the first time, so I'll navigate through it. Kyle, what were some fun things that you participated in this year with the IOCDF? Because I know you are all over the place.
Let's see. What are some really fun things? Well, I mean, everything at the conference was awesome. I think the highlight.
Which conference? We did a few.
We did do a few. I guess I was thinking about the in-person one, but there's some cool things that happened in the online conference. I'll start with the in-person one. The in-person one, we had a young adult game night on Friday night, where me and Chris Tronston, I think that's how he pronounced his last name. No? Okay. That's enough. We played categories in front of all the young adults there, and we got heated. And he technically beat me by 1 point, but I think that was a lie. Like, I think it's quite contested. So that was really fun. And then there were the psychedelic talk at the conference, which Uma led, was my favorite talk at the conference. That was super interesting. The room was packed. I couldn't get a seat. I was standing in the corner the whole time. And then on the online conference, I had a super good time. I did the sex talk with Allegra Castens, and then we had a Q&A afterwards, and that was super fun. It's always good to talk about. I like talking about that topic because a lot of people have trouble speaking about it. It feels taboo, and a lot of people have a lot of questions about it. So it's good to create a space to talk about. And then we had, for OCD Awareness Week, the Young Adult SIG did a speaker event where we had people come in. And Caitlin Pinciotti, she gave us a talk about OCD and trauma and the overlap between them, and I guess kind of emerging research as to how they're connected, which is a part of the literature I never really poked around. But I hear it a lot where people say I had this trauma, and then OCD came into the picture, and it was just really cool to hear kind of the scientific perspective on how these two things might be connected. Don't ask me questions about it because I could not tell you anything about it, but I thought it was interesting.
That's awesome, Kyle. And thank you so much for everything that you've done. And not to mention your monthly research roundtables with Dr. Abramowitz, which I know people learn a ton of stuff from. So thank you. Uma, you've been heavily involved this year.
Thank you, Ethan. Yes, I mean, thank you for chasing me down an escalator. Now I'm involved. TLDR. I'm going to flip it on you, Kyle, because thank you for the shout out for the psychedelic thing. I want to talk about that. But your research roundtables are amazing, especially the one on OCD and trauma/PTSD. That's what I researched in the past and continue to do. And your line of questioning and inquiry about kind of validating measures and future directions, dude, please go into research. Please continue that. You're awesome. That was one of my highlights that I was involved with. Okay. This year has been beautiful for me personally. It's really been a year of owning the fact that I am someone who has OCD, who is also a researcher, who can be both, who can be open about it. And for those who don't, I guess, get the context of what I'm saying, in academia and research, it's an unspoken but very pervasive kind of just rule that you don't talk about having your lived experience, especially in higher level graduate education at conferences like the one I'm at right now. And because of a lot of encouragement and support, especially from Ethan and the way he's, without him knowing, really supported and mentored me, I've been able to just be my full self and accept that it will be what it will be. And I've found so much support from the people in this community. So this year at the IOCDF conference, I presented at the research symposium. I presented at the actual conference. I brought kind of all my identities together in this psychedelic panel that Kyle was talking about. That was really one of the highlights of my whole life, not just this year, because it was me getting to create and facilitate this panel with my heroes, the people doing the research that I care so much about, and then them turning the tables on me and having me share my own research, which was really cool, and really to bridge. Not academics talk to each other, but we need to talk to the lived experience community in a way that informs them of what's actually going on so that they can have accurate information. And so I got to do that. And that was a huge highlight for me. It was a huge success, and it's going to keep happening. So I'm very excited about that. I also was really privileged to be able to perform or participate in, I was thinking about singing, participate in many different events this year, whether it was our support group at the conference or our panel or some online events about really diversity and inclusion and being someone of color, being someone who's disabled, and all of those intersecting identities, and having OCD, and really shedding light on the added level of isolation that we feel and the cultural stigma we face. So that's been a lot of what I've gotten to do. I had the privilege of being part of the keynote address at the online OCD conference, which was just really beautiful to be able to share my story in its fullest form to everybody and to feel so loved and supported back. And so, yeah, there's just been a lot of things. There's a lot more things coming that I'm really, really excited about. But all in all, it's just, I think, for all of us, a place to feel like we belong and that we can take our story and our experiences and be of support to others. Because at the end of the day, it's not about us, it's about the community and how we all feel included and supported, and who knows what that will do for other people. So
thank you, Uma. And Kira, this is going to sound so cliche, who was our future. I sound so old, but no, Kira, who has just become an IOCDF advocate in the past year, and is already contributing so much. Talk to us about some of your experiences with the IOCDF this year.
First of all, thank you. Obviously, being an IOCDF advocate, highlight of the year. I love everybody that I've gotten a chance to work with, all of the projects that I've been a part of, all of the different initiatives. A lot of time this year was also spent with my task force for the IOCDF's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Action Council. So we were kind of putting together, revamping a lot of fact sheets. The task force that I was on was community-based outreach and treatment. And I really enjoyed getting to collaborate with everybody on that and make some new resources for the IOCDF, because I know how much they helped me and my family when I was really struggling with OCD, and I really want to help the IOCDF provide those kind of materials for other people. I also recorded like a few clips of encouragement for like the young adults special interest group. I think they were like small little like segments about like my life and my journey with OCD. And yeah, it's been really rewarding getting to give back to the IOCDF, and of course getting to meet everybody and yeah, collaborate. And of course being here, super excited about that. So yeah.
Thank you, Kara. That's awesome. And we have about, I don't know, 17 minutes left. I'm really bad at math. I'm impressed I got that. But anyway, Kyle is too. As we go through this, if you please continue to ask questions and about anything holidays, OCD, happy to take a break and answer those. I don't want you to feel like we're not talking about OCD anymore, but thought you would enjoy hearing, what your support, even just coming on live streams and commenting and advocating in your own way, has helped the IOCDF and our mission to reach every individual with OCD and make sure we end suffering and training. So with that in mind, just some fun facts. The IOCDF, or IOCDF.org, along with its sister and brother and other websites such as Anxiety in the Classroom, Kids IOCDF, Hoarding IOCDF, BDD, Anxiety, had over 2.5 million unique visitors this year, which is pretty incredible. In 2023, 336 professionals trained through the Behavioral Therapy Training Institute, which is the IOCDF's BTTI, where therapists learn about ERP and other first-line modalities of treatment for OCD, which is huge because I saw 336 therapists in 17 years that didn't know anything about OCD. So that is awesome. They also provided 70 scholarships for clinicians serving communities in need to attend this training. So awesome. On the fighting stigma front, we had 3,500, we're up to, I should say, 3,500 IOCDF GRASS advocates. So thank you for that. Our community is growing bigger, and that's how we're going to stamp this out. The bigger the foot, the bigger the footprint. I've always said that. So I know it's deep, but I truly believe, Kyle, just think about it. It'd be cool if like dots started to appear on the whiteboard next to him and like a little cloud came up. We should animate some stuff. But anyway, using hashtag OCD week was reached over 250,000 times. And during OCD week, 30 buildings across the US lit up with teal for OCD, which is really, really cool. Also in 2023, we had nearly 41 million steps for OCD walks. We didn't have 41 million walks. That's a lot of walks. We did have 41 million steps for OCD walks. I read that weird, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of walks. Around the globe with over 3,000 attendees. At the annual conference Kyle was talking about and Uma was talking about, we had 1,900 annual OCD conference attendees from 14 countries and over 40 scholarships awarded. We also had 5 virtual and 1 hybrid conferences with 3,500 combined attendees. We had 105,000 live stream views. We also had 105,700 social media followers and 8,250 Health Unlocked followers. 7 research grants were given at 1.06 million awarded in 2023. There was a page at the very end that said all of that, so I didn't have to scroll. Interesting. Anyway, but all of this to say, this has been a a colossal group, professional staff advocate effort. And I remember, I mean, I feel fairly new in the grand timeline of the IOCDF, which started in 1987. But at least when I jumped on board and started just coming to conferences in those first 2 or 3 years, starting in 2010, I definitely felt like the only thing that happened for OCD was conference to conference, and nothing happened in between. And it felt very isolating because you were at this IOCDF conference and you were around all these incredible people and met all these people in your community, and you felt supported and hugged and in a place, and then you left, and that felt like it. And the accessibility of the IOCDF didn't feel. I'm just being candid. I speak my own truth. So I'll get a call later from somebody. But the IOCDF felt inaccessible, at least to me. But over the last almost 14 years since I got involved, I mean, when you think about going from conference to conference, and of course, yes, there was OCD Awareness Walk. I am not minimizing that. Dennis starting the 1 million steps for OCD walk. Obviously, things were going on, but the ability to have programming every week, to have multiple conferences throughout the year, to have the live conference at the scale that the IOCDF is having it now, to touch on training and all that, is really just incredible how far they've grown. And I really feel like it's just the beginning. But needless to say, they couldn't do this without all of you, Kyle, Kira, and Uma, and all of you. And I think it is a testament to breaking down stigma, educating the public, and continuing this important mission to help individuals with OCD, related disorders, families, friends, get treatment, access care, train clinicians. And so people don't have to suffer needlessly for 17 years or 10 years or 5 years, or even 1 year. Wouldn't it be great to go to the doctor, get diagnosed, go to a specialist, and that's it? You're getting treatment, right? That's the dream. Uma, did you have something to say?
Yes, I do. I have to interrupt, and I have to add before you move on that you were just talking about how much community has been created between conferences and all the people in the chat talking. Ethan, you are so much of the reason for that. You host live streams so often. You are your full self. You create this sense of community and love and support. And I've watched so many of these chats just grow and grow because you engage people, you put them together, and you are so much of the life and blood of this community, and you just shouted out all of us. We have to shout you back out. Like, you created also what you were missing. You said that there was so it felt like conference, like you brought so much love and community. Like, the conference is just one conduit, and you do so much of it too. So thank you.
Thank you, Uma.
Definitely. We wouldn't all be here right now without you. So big round of applause.
Well,
I suppose.
It was going to make me cry, but thank you. No, it's a group effort for sure. But also, I think there's also a wonderful lesson there. Like the advocate program started because I felt like the IOCDF was, people think of an IOCDF as a massive foundation. I think they have 14 or 16 employees, and that time they had less. So I genuinely said to myself, okay, advocacy was getting bottlenecked, right? Because they were trying to run a nonprofit, rightfully so, and doing the most they could. And so we would have all these ideas because, as we know, as a lived experience group, we have a lot of ideas, and I don't know, we want them done now. And so, it was like, what can we do to assist the IOCDF and create an a parallel group to run alongside it, where we could, initiate advocate initiatives and programs and be able to execute them. And that was really the start of the advocate program in 2016. I pitched it to the board, but that isn't the lesson. The lesson is the flexibility of the IOCDF to listen to individuals with lived experience, right? They were the ones that said yes. They're the ones that took it seriously. They're the ones that took the ball. And it's been 5 or 7 or 8 years building it out, and it's really in the last 3 years taken off in such a beautiful and cohesive way. And that's because all of you. But it's a testament to the IOCDF really being willing to listen and do what's in the best interest of the community. And I say that because, all of you have that same, whatever you want, whatever you dream of, whatever you want this organization to be, at the end of the day, they're there to serve the OCD community and OCD and related disorders community. And so, whatever the vision is, bring it to me, bring it to Kira, bring it to Kyle, bring it to Uma, whoever you have relationships with the IOCDF. Do not hesitate. It may not happen right away, but don't be afraid to talk about it, because it's all a canvas where we can continue to paint on. It's a really beautiful organization. So that's my 2 cents on that. We have I know we never end on time. We have 9 minutes. With that in mind, I'm going to go around and feel free to give some final thoughts, either on advocacy, on the holidays, really open topic on whatever you're feeling in this moment. And let's start with Uma.
My internet froze as you started giving the instructions. So what am I saying?
Can you name 50 prime numbers in order?
I don't even know what a prime number is anymore.
I just know prime rib. Anyway, no, I was basically wanting y'all to have like last final thoughts, but open topic, take your time, just whatever you're feeling in the moment.
Yeah. I think that in terms of this time of year, I hope that you can see that, first of all, you're not alone. And it's not just the 4 of us talking. I was actually going to say, because we were talking about, you don't have to have OCD to struggle with the holidays. I, in the last couple of years, have started finding so many podcast episodes from so many creators and people, you could have podcasts or social media or whatever, that are all talking about how hard the holidays are and the expectations and doing things differently, perhaps, in order to be more in line with their authentic self. And all of that to say, you're not alone, and the holidays are just days, and you can experience whatever shows up for you and just let yourself be as you are and know that you're so seen and heard. And then with recovery, I say this every single time, and I need to keep saying it because I need to keep hearing it. It's not linear. It's okay if things spike. You're not a failure. Recovery is a journey. Life is a journey. Life is not linear. And if things spike, especially because, stress can make things harder sometimes. If that happens, especially during this holiday season, again, you're not alone, and you will get right back on the horse, and you'll have more awareness and insight, and just give yourself as much compassion as possible. And just, you're so loved and valued, and thank you for being here, and thank you for continuing to engage with your own recovery and to continue to create community and to be the people that we all needed when we were growing up.
Thank you, Uma. You're incredible and awesome. And on a side note, where are you right now, and what are you doing?
I don't have my psychedelic background behind me because I am in Tampa at a meeting. A meeting is basically like a closed conference, apparently in academia, called the American College of Neuropsychopharmacology. I'm not supposed to be able to be at ACNP normally. It's usually super senior level investigators, maybe some about to graduate students and postdocs, but I weaseled my way in, and I am just getting so many ideas of what I want to do with my PhD research in terms of studying OCD and different models, and getting to really tell everyone I'm an IOCDF advocate. I have OCD, and relating to researchers with my lived experience. So yeah, if I can do it, y'all can too. It's really exciting. That's why I'm here.
Uma's scrappy. Kira, what's on your mind? Give us some final thoughts.
All right, some final thoughts. Let's make these super nice and deep.
But you can also
deliver
a B minus. You can give B minus thoughts.
Pardon, say that one more time.
You can give B minus thoughts.
Oh, that is
you don't have
true.
to put that kind of pressure on yourself, Yeah.
No. You're all good. Don't worry. I'm already cooking some up. We're always working in here. One thing that is definitely so important that I do so often is I compare myself to other people so much, whether it be on Instagram, social media, or just other people, or even family members. I know earlier in this, we were kind of talking about how a lot of the time your family will seem so happy during this time of year, and you're comparing yourself to them and what's wrong with me, what's happening. It's really important to recognize that everybody has struggles, and I know that sounds so cliche, but it's okay to, like I said, not be your best self all the time. It's okay to, one of my things that I've been saying this semester is take a break from slaying, take a break from being absolutely academic weapon, take a break from being perfect all the time, and just find, I guess, peace in being yourself. And if you see other people that are thriving out there and you're damn, why can't I be part of them, and why can't I do like what they do? It's important to realize that, yes, of course, be happy if they're actually thriving, but also I'm sure people have maybe sometimes looked at you and been like, that person looks like they have their life together, and really it's just been a whole facade. But really just keep yourself accountable and don't compare yourself, because everybody is on a different journey, but we're all going through it. It's all of our first times living life. We don't know everything. We're not perfect. And I think that's just really important to kind of come back to. But, yeah.
Beautifully said, Kara. Thank you so much. All right. I didn't want to do this, but we're ending on Kyle, and it was purposeful because at the end of the day, I have a lot of love for this guy. So, Kyle, please give us your final thoughts, but do it with mute on.
Okay. Can I write them on the whiteboard?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was walking to the room. I chose this room specifically, and I made a mistake. I was walking to this room to do the stream, and I was thinking about this live stream because I did the same one last year. And last year when I did this stream, I was struggling a lot with anorexia. And it was like incredibly difficult for me to focus, and I was like 30 pounds underweight, and I went home. And at the time I went home, I had not told my parents what was going on. I was hiding it entirely. And at the end of the holiday season, right before I went back up to school, I finally broke because I just physically couldn't not tell somebody. And now I'm in not that place anymore. And I'm super, super grateful to not be in that place anymore. And just because like I was reflecting on that, I think the one thing I want to say about like just I guess life is what Uma said, like recovery is not linear. I had OCD when I was 13, and then I had, an eating disorder come up when I was 20, and my life's gone like back and forth between different struggles. And I had a really tough time accepting that last holiday season because I thought I was this advocate and I couldn't have my own struggles. And I couldn't ask for help because of that. And I'm really grateful I did. So I guess I just want to say like asking for help's okay. And I wouldn't have listened to myself a year ago. But now I think that's the most important thing I've like ever had to accept in my life. The other thing I wanted to say really briefly was after I was diagnosed when I was 13, I did treatment and stuff with Ethan. And then I followed him around the conference at Boston when I was a 14-year-old and kept bugging him because I wanted to be an advocate. And he was like, I don't know what the advocacy program is going to look like. Get away from me, little kid. And we kind of talked back and forth for a couple years. And I was terrified of Ethan and the IOCDF because I thought they were these like big adults and big organization that like they wouldn't be listening to a kid, or they wouldn't be listening to someone just who had ideas out on the street. But no, that like when I approached anyone in the IOCDF, they really honestly listened to me and they honestly let me do the projects that I want to do. So if anyone listening has any hopes of doing something advocacy related with the IOCDF, they're super responsive and like just give it a shot because I think it might work out. Okay, that's all I have.
Kyle, I really appreciate you sharing. And no, thank you. That was very brave. And I actually love Kyle and I were digging at each other when he was 13. And we actually had a battle back and forth on guitar where he would dig at me and I would dig at him. We made it a song. It was a thing, but it was super fun. So Kyle and his family are awesome human beings. Also, Kyle, thank you for sharing it. It is not linear. And it is, I was diagnosed with bipolar in 2018 after I thought I was done. I thought that I had it figured out. And I sat on the bathroom floor, like literally bawling for 3 hours with a pill in my hand because I had to take a new medication for my bipolar. And I was so stigmatizing myself thinking I had finally was figured everything out and didn't need it. And this was like a total setback, like total failure. What a shame, thought I had it figured out. And it can be really, really challenging, it can. And same, the OCD pops up. I mean, I talked about it before my wedding and I'm going on my honeymoon next week. And I'm really triggered by almost everything. In fact, I will do something that I rarely do, which is I'll give you a quick insight into OCD Ethan. For some reason, I was telling Brennan backstage, I got super triggered right before this town hall, which I don't think I've been this triggered in about a year and a half. And it's so silly. I'm going to say it out loud so y'all appreciate the ups and downs of OCD. But I have a emetophobia, and I'm always afraid that food is bad or there's food poisoning or whatever. And I've been pretty good about it. And Kate, I made dinner for Katie. and we had salmon and broccoli, and I smelled the broccoli and it smelled a little off, but I was like, no, that's your OCD, Ethan. And then I cooked it and then we started eating it and it tasted different. I don't know that it tasted bad, but it was weird. I said, Kate, this broccoli tastes weird, right? She's saying, yeah, no, it tastes weird. I'm like, okay. And we start eating it and I'm eating some more. I'm like, this definitely like tastes really strange. And she's like, yeah, it tastes strange, but whatever. Well, I like internally broke into a full blown panic. I was like, oh my God, this broccoli is going to make me sick. It was like death broccoli. And I literally like was sitting at the table Googling, like, what does broccoli taste like? What is it supposed to taste like? What can different brands of broccoli taste like different things? And like, Katie's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I doing this? This is, and then I went through what Kyle went through, which is, well, I can't go on and host a town hall like about fighting your OCD when I'm literally just giving in, and the reality of the situation is advocacy is the best medicine for OCD. I feel so much better right now, regardless if I get sick or not, it doesn't matter. Right. But like in this, I can't think of a better, I could have either like kept compulsing or been present with all of you the last hour and a half. And like, I wouldn't take that back, right? Regardless of what happens. And so that's fantastic. But also it was a good opportunity to share. No, it's not a straight line. I don't always ever want to present myself as an advocate who like, never struggles with OCD. I have good times. I have bad days. I have good days. I have bad days. I have more good days than bad days. And that's ultimately what we want to strive for. But it's not always easy. And so yeah, just thought I'd share that little tidbit with you. You will know if I die tonight, then you will know it was by broccoli. And, we just don't know. We'll have to see. Hopefully not though. With that, thank you so much, Kyle, Uma, and Kira for being here. Y'all were incredible. And I hope all of you really enjoyed hearing from all of them. Also, I want to thank everyone in the comment thread for weighing in. Y'all are incredible. Great comments, and especially like coming out with Uma's future bass career. Kira is sending lots of love. So anyway, we'll send updates on her musical career as a bassist coming up. As always, I want to thank the IOCDF and Brendan behind the scenes. Couple quick announcements. Oh my gosh, tomorrow, 12 p.m. Ask the Experts with Chris and Liz. It's the current state of medication. So all your medications, which we generally don't answer. If you have questions, tomorrow is the live stream. Tune in. You can ask all your questions about medications. And then finally, camp registration is open. Register today to join the special event for youth with OCD and their families. You can register at iocdf.org/camp. As always, subscribe on our YouTube channel and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the social medias, as the kids say. And with all that, I know Kyle's like, no, Ethan, no. With all that, thank you so much. Kira's kind of churning a little bit in her stomach, in her chair too. Go ahead, Kira.
No, it's okay. I mean, we love boomers too.
Wait, what did you say?
I said we love boomers too.
Boomers? Damn.
Boomers. I'm so sorry your hairstyle is giving boomer vibes, but we love you still. We love all boomers.
I'm so not a boomer.
Maybe
I'm
you
like
and I
barely...
need to have like
We'll talk.
You and
we'll
I
talk,
maybe need to have a conversation about what's like hip and cool. Because I mean, I'm obviously one of the cool kids.
No, for sure. But like, I'm barely Gen X. I'm like on the cusp of Gen X millennial. Boomer. Oh my gosh, that's painful. Now I really am nauseous, and it's not the broccoli.
I mean, whatever you need to tell yourself.
Thank you, Kira. I love that she's like digging at it. Kyle, we created a monster. This is fantastic. Okay, so with all that being said, I love Kira so much. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Uma. Thank you, Kira, for joining us. We hope you had a good time, everyone here. So until next time, stay safe. Of course, you can visit any questions, visit iocdf.org, and you can always email the IOCDF at info@iocdf.org. So until then, stay safe, stay vigilant, feel the feels, don't let OCD off the hook, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Boomer.
Are you not a boomer?
No, I'm not a boomer. I love that we're still on. I was making jokes, but no, not.
I'm not.